2, 1. We live. Welcome back, all you beautiful people, to that We Got Action podcast. It's going to be episode 45 coming at y'all. Isaac Moore back again, baby. We got our boy Danny moving into a new spot. So he's going to be MIA this week, but he's still going to be working the socials and the behind the scenes stuff. That's what he does. That's his thing. But we're out here on screen grinding right now for y'all. We're going to be touching on some NBA playoffs, talking about who we each have winning the finals. We're going to talk about some teams that missed the playoffs, flip the script and go MLB, talk about the Rays, talk about some of the new changes that we've seen throughout the first couple weeks, how we feel about them, how they're looking. And then NFL, Ravens signed OBJ, which we actually talked about last week, but didn't really talk about it because we didn't think it would happen.
Yeah.
Then it ended up happening. So that was sweet. And then I got a quick question that I kind of wanted to pose to both of you guys. There we go. I missed that one. I was doing it backwards. So we're going to talk about awards too for NBA. And then I just had a question for NFL that I wanted to pose towards you guys. I see a lot of teams making moves here and there, dropping players, trading players, doing stuff. Obviously the draft is in a couple weeks. So I'm curious where you guys are at with this kind of question that I have. I feel like me and you have maybe talked about this in the past, but
yeah,
or at least I've asked you.
Yeah.
But either way, so we're going to jump straight into the NBA. First question I had for the slate today. What team do each of us have winning the NBA finals? Isaac, I know we were just talking. You kind of wanted me to go first, but I'm going to let Vitor go first, and then I'll go.
Okay.
So we get to see if we steal both of your teams.
The first team I've got.
It can be East or West.
Yeah, first
just pick a team to overall win it.
I think
just do one team, though.
Good shot at getting there is Milwaukee.
Okay,
I think
that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, they've been there before. They've won it before. I think we talk about it all the time. Playoff experience does matter, right? We always talk about it with the Warriors, right? When they've been there and they've done it, it seems to give them an edge.
Mm-hmm.
They're also going to be playing, I believe, the winner of
they're playing the 8th seed,
right?
And then they play the winner of the 4-5, correct?
Which
it's probably the weakest of the teams.
Yeah,
3-6.
Yeah, I mean, if the Nets win, then good luck to.
I still think Cleveland could make a tough run for them.
Cleveland can make it
because they're very diverse.
I just feel like when you're slowing the game down, Mitchell's gonna have to deal with Drew on him the whole game, right? He's definitely gonna take his breaks.
But
him.
He can do it.
Yeah.
But the one key guy for that series though will be Darius Garland. Correct. And the fact that I like it too is I'm not sure if Jared Allen's healthy. He should be healthy.
He's been in and out of the games. I'm sure he'll be playing regardless of health, but
and I think that's a big missing though. That's a missing link though, because that adds the length to like low key kind of slow down Giannis in that series.
But you're also, if you got Brook in, he's probably going to end up having to guard Brook on the 3-point line and take him out of that. And then,
but that's when I'm gonna look at Darius.
And that's when it's
but I'm gonna look at DG to win
for sure is gonna have the mismatch in that series.
Well,
that's where I'm looking for him to abuse. That's what. But defensively, that's where it's gonna lie. It's gonna be lying in Wesley Matthews' hands, Grayson Allen hands. When you got Drew slowing down one of these key perimeter guys like a Donovan Mitchell, if you get to Jalen Brunson, if they come out of there, you got to worry about Zach LaVine or somebody coming out of that 8th seed. But them slowing those guys down, I need that little 10 to 12 point production out of one of those guys. While also putting a little bit of limitations on that second key guy they got coming.
And then the next matchup would be either Philly or Boston, more or less, would probably be most people's. I mean, granted, if the top seed wins, it would be 3-2 in the. I mean, I don't really see any of the teams beating Boston, to be honest.
It's hard to say. But
you don't think so? I think Boston's clear the first round. I would say
the first round,
right. I'm saying Milwaukee would then have to play
yeah.
Probably Philly or Boston. In the conference finals.
Yeah. And
I like their.
I'm just glad.
I like their road. That was one of my two teams.
I'm glad the East is stronger this year, though. It makes it a lot more fun.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go into one of my teams. I've got two teams. One of them was Milwaukee, but that was actually kind of like, in my opinion, like a cop out. No offense. I just feel
it's definitely
they have one of the better paths. You're gonna already play a play-in team. I like their matchups in the 4-5.
Yeah.
And then I think they handle the 76ers pretty well. I think their tough matchup is Boston, which we've already seen in previous years. I'm actually gonna go with Golden State. I think we talked about it in the past.
I knew it.
Yeah. We talked about it in the past couple weeks that a lot of those teams were kind of fishing for the 6th seed.
Yep.
So they are going to play a very inexperienced Sacramento Kings team. I don't know the status of Andrew Wiggins at all, if he's planning to come back, but that would be a great series for him to get it. That'd be a great series, in my opinion, for him to get his feet wet again and get reacclimated into the system, because he's a huge piece for them going down the stretch if he can play. He don't even need to really score, but just be able to guard and take some stress off of some of the guys that have really, because they're with Draymond on the court, they're one of the best defensive teams in the league. When he's off the court, they fall to middle of the table, and that's usually where they kind of struggle. But I like the next matchup again if they end up having to play Memphis. I know a lot of people Memphis or LA, which, hey, that's one of my teams too. I think they can make a run. But yeah, Memphis or LA. I kind of like them against Memphis a little better. I just think we've seen it last year. I know Memphis really, really got into them a lot this year, but again, wasn't a fully healthy Warriors team that we've seen out there multiple times. But yeah, I think the toughest matchup would be the conference finals for them. But at that point, they're probably firing on all cylinders. They've got the edge and the championship pedigree there. But I don't know. Golden State's tough. We picked them. We picked them preseason. We picked them even when they were slumping a little bit. I'm gonna just stick with it. There's just something kind of just like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Prove me wrong. I know I went against that in the NFL with the anti-Tom Brady stuff, but something feels different. I don't know. I like the Warriors.
That was one of my two teams, which was Golden State. I'm gonna go with the second team. I mean, it's probably gonna be obvious who my second team is. But the first team is this though. The reason why I'm going Golden State is that Memphis is not healthy,
right,
at all. And you got LA coming in, who's gonna have a hot D-Lo probably the next one. Is it tonight or tomorrow night?
They play the T-Wolves tonight.
Yeah, they're gonna knock the T-Wolves into that next game and go play the Pelicans or Thunder after that.
I agree.
But when you look at that, Memphis is gonna struggle with that when you got Steven Adams out, Brandon Clark out, and you got to worry about a physical AD coming.
Mr. Foul Trouble himself is gonna play about 20 minutes.
Right, I mean,
this series,
and that's hard for him. You ask him to do that, he got to deal with AD for 7 games.
That's
most likely.
That's tough.
And then but then you got to look at it. Yeah, when Golden State get done with that, I think they got a little bit of an upper hand with like playing LA. But then also too, you can see LA making that deeper run. But I am gonna rock out with my Phoenix Suns.
There you go.
Depending if they get out this first round.
I think that would be their toughest round.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just because I just think the defenders the Clippers have 1 through 5.
I watched even with before the KD thing came in, the matchup with the Nuggets was not like fearful because Booker was always playing good against the Nuggets.
Yeah.
I just don't think anybody out of that 7 through 10 seed is a danger to Phoenix. I think if you get past the Clippers, that's gonna, like we all just said, that's gonna be the hardest matchup. And then it's gonna be a problem to deal with either Golden State or LA, but you still have a Devin Booker, a KD, a Chris Paul, and guys that's actually been here now at this point to even push yourselves back into the finals. I wouldn't be surprised if my Phoenix Suns get back to the finals this year.
They got to run. I think their toughest matchup would probably be the first round and then the conference finals. I also kind of like them against the Nuggets too. I don't know why the Nuggets have been so dominant all year, but I don't like them in many matchups.
Well, they've shown a lot.
I need to see Jamal Murray. I really need to see Jamal Murray.
They've shown a lot of weakness as of late. Jokic, I think his play has faltered a bit. Especially on he's just not looking for his shot at all. Right. He has not been over the last 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, I want to see him just really get aggressive.
But that's another thing, though. I feel like I know why he's doing it because I mean some of the key things that's been getting them put out the playoffs is that he's done so much of that heavy workload that when those guys, it's time to rely on those guys, it's like a shell shock to them. Yeah. So what do you do the last couple of weeks of the season? I'm going to go play like crap. And then I need you all to help us figure it out and keep us at this 1 seed.
Right.
So to see if that builds some rhythm, I don't think it's going to work just because the playoffs is a way different atmosphere than the regular season. So yes, it's a little bit, and it's playing a little bit fire, especially with you making your play suffer a little bit heading into the playoff. and playing some teams who already got some games under their belt,
Yeah.
I can see it happening. I can really see them even falling in the first round by accident just because they're just not ready.
That'd be tough. I mean, they'd have a pretty tough matchup, I think, with either New Orleans or OKC, who can really run it.
Yeah, I mean,
23 average age at 22, 23 years old. They can run it.
I don't even love the Minnesota matchup for them if that's
I think they'll
beat
mop
them, but I don't
Minnesota.
love the matchup.
I think they'll mop them.
I
don't like the chemistry of what we've seen most recently with
chemistry is not, I would say, the lack of
there.
But I don't know. They just don't look good on defense, especially. That's the biggest thing. Is like they brought in all these defenders, and we talked about that. That was a move they needed to make, right?
Yeah.
Bruce Brown, KCP, all these guys. I know Brown's been in and out of the lineup as of late, but I don't know. The team, it just seems like I think Gordon's play has dropped off on both sides of the floor significantly
over
the course of the season. And they're gonna need him. They're gonna need Jamal. They're gonna need Porter to score. Jamal's gonna have to be a true number 2 to Jokic, but they need the other guys, the role players, to step up. If they're not hitting shots, they need to play lockdown defense because they have other guys who can't on the team, and they're superstar who can. So in order to protect Jokic as well, like because teams are gonna go at him, and you don't want him picking up 2 fouls in the first 3 minutes of a game. So they're really gonna have to step up on both sides of the ball. I think otherwise they might be a lot earlier than everyone expected.
Do we like any other team in the East? I know you picked the Bucks, but
Boston.
I would have also went with Warriors, Lakers. Isaac had Suns and Warriors.
Yeah. Obviously Boston. Yeah. Boston's too good.
You got Philly.
I do think if Philly.
I just want to mix it up, man. Because
I think Philly matches up well with Boston. In terms
that's my thing. All we've been talking about
they've played them so hard all season.
Boston. I need Philly in there. Like Joel Embiid's doing some freaking special things in Philly right now, and I think it's gonna carry over to the playoffs. Now, is everybody else gonna follow suit? That's the question that needs to be answered.
Yeah, that's a big thing. We saw Maxey and have a terrible game against the Celtics the last time they played. It was a season low in points.
But then Embiid dropped 50 and they 52, won.
I believe.
Yeah, and they won.
Did they win that game?
Did win. Because they lost the previous matchup.
Yes.
But they won that one.
Yeah, but like you're not going to get 52 every game, right? You might get 42 every game.
I was gonna say he pushing the barrel every night.
The way he's going.
But I'm excited, man.
If he averages 40 in the series, oh my god.
Dude, against this Nets team, I can see him averaging 40.
I think I'm actually scared for this Nets series because I think the Nets are really good defensively to be able to. I think they're going to be able to lock down a lot of the other players.
Yeah. Harden's going to have a lot of trouble.
Like Embiid, I think they're going to be really tough for some of these other guys.
And I think another thing, as we talked about this Phillies team in the playoffs, one of the teams that's even in the play-in that was really dangerous. I mean, they were bad this year. But the Raptors is like almost got that same kind of Brooklyn Nets makeup in a sense.
Yeah, right.
You got your nice star player and Mikal Bridges,
but you
just got a bunch of great solid role players.
Yeah.
And guys who could probably start somewhere else, like a Dinwiddie, Cam Johnson.
They're so selfless.
Dorian Finney, right.
That are very
Dorian Finney-Smith. Claxton still playing like Claxton. Like,
right.
Then they got Ben Simmons in the background, just watching.
I think it's going to be, I think that might be, in my opinion, one of the Sixers' toughest series. I really do. I really do.
Well,
I think they match up well with Boston or whoever comes out of the.
Well, the thing is, I know they're not going to have an answer for Embiid. Harden is the problem, and
Harden, Maxey, Tobias, Shake Milton.
Shake's been hot.
Shake's been crazy, but he's playing with nobody.
It's Tobias though, man. You can't keep starting somebody who just ain't gonna produce. That's to me. Yeah, I could take a off game here and there for Maxey. At least Maxey will bounce back.
Yeah, at least Maxey ain't making $25+ million a year.
Yeah, and you ain't gonna see him score like 2 points and 6 rebounds. Like, I can't handle that.
All right, so I wanted to jump into kind of a flip-flop of what we're talking about. We're talking about teams that have a chance to win the finals. I kind of want to talk about what do you guys think of teams that missed the playoffs this year? So I'll list them out real quick. We got the Pacers, the Wizards, the Magic, the Hornets, the Pistons, and then we got Mavericks, Jazz, Blazers, Rockets, Spurs out in the West. How do we feel about any of these 10 teams? Do we think any of them have a chance to probably push into the playoffs next year? Isaac, let me hear what you got because you went last on the first segment.
Utah.
Going Utah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
got Utah. Sir, why I got Utah? I think you finally found something you could work around way early. It just depends if he can do it again. Okay, like Lauri Markkanen proved to us that this
Right.
year wasn't a fluke.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't a fluke, it's going to be very key for all of them. Because
They can build around him now.
to build around, you got Walker Kessler there. Jordan Clarkson averaged
Hey,
20.
he was
almost
crazy. Walker Kessler
crazy
was
this
a
year.
really good player.
Yeah, also a really good fit with Lowry.
Yes.
And then
correct.
I mean, as many people can still say they hate Colin Sexton's game, for somebody to shoot 50% from the field, also 40% of three, while also playing like 15 to 16 minutes, but also putting 15 points. The man scoring a point per minute in freaking Utah. And then the man I think who was blossoming towards the second half of the season, towards the end, is Taylor Horton Tucker.
Yes.
Once again, like he showed you his talent. I
We
think he had
knew
a
it
crazy
already.
we already knew it already, but now you have something you can start building around. When you got guys like Rudy Gay that's about to leave, start building, and you have picks.
I was about to say you just got all the Gobert meat that you just
fleeced
got.
Minnesota, so you got stuff to work with.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like that a lot. Do you want to go or
go? I went.
I'm gonna pick the Magic.
That was one of my teams.
I'm gonna pick Orlando. I already liked the foundation that they had. I just think again they're kind of in the same boat, which surprised me with the Thunder, where they're just super young. I think they were right there with they could have made a playoff push. But I feel like they kind of it wouldn't have mattered, you know. It's like I feel like you can get another good pick, add it to the team. They could even move some of these guys, make a trade maybe if that's possible.
At least one of the guards because
the guard. There's too many guys not getting enough minutes for how much talent they have. But yeah, I like the Magic. I think they're pretty deep at each position.
Yeah.
Could maybe go get another 3-and-D wing.
Well, they're gonna have probably two lottery picks unless there is
because one's ours, right?
Yeah, unless there's somebody out there who is gonna shine the light on the Bulls and make them pop into the top 4 with like a 1% chance again.
It's like 1.7, right? Or 1.9.
D Rose was like 1.4.
It was.
So
I say that every time. But yeah, I like the Magic. I like what they have with both Franz and then Mo Wagner, who really kind of blossomed this year. Obviously Paolo, rookie of the year, unbelievable. Wendell's really kind of come into his own, but yet was able to also take a back seat, I feel like, and be kind of a co-main, you know, like not having to be like last year if he was more of the front man, but with Paolo coming in, he was able to still be productive while being like the second big in the front court.
And I think that's what he is. I think
that's it. Yeah, and he's very good at it.
We saw it in college.
15 and 8. Give me 15 and 8.
Yeah.
And put that with Paolo's 28 and 6. That's crazy. That's a crazy front court for the next 5 years, depending on what they do with contract wise. Yeah. Jalen Suggs still. Cole Anthony. I mean, we were talking about the guards. Markelle Fultz kind of having a little bit of a renaissance.
They got to keep my boy Markelle
because he's
lie.
such a spark for them.
Is starting to brew. I'm sorry.
He's got his shot back. I mean, he went from 40% at the free throw line to now he's shooting almost 90. He's got his shot back.
Aggressiveness he's been. That second half of the season, is watching that game. He was just explosive.
And that's what he had in Washington coming into the league. That's why we liked him so much.
Yeah. But when guys get hurt, you see it a lot. They just get hesitant. So it's him not being
hesitant. Him being on the young team, him almost being the old head at like what 24, 25 on a young team is allowed him to be a leader and really play his game.
Because he played some years in college.
He only played 1 year.
Was it 1 year?
He was he's only 21.
He's 20. One of them. He's one of them.
He was a one and done in Gonzaga. Yeah.
Oh, I think they're gonna move Cole. I think that's gonna
Cole would be the older of the three.
I think Cole Anthony is gonna be the one moved, just because I think he has that kind of like microwave.
He's more of like a Clarkson, in my opinion.
Yeah,
just
he's got that
shooter, like a burner off the bench, which you kind of need, but you also kind of already have.
Yeah, and I think they need to figure some things out.
And they got defenders too. What Okiki, and they've got.
I think he's hurt. Is he not?
Yeah, I'm saying they got
Isaac. But I don't think he's going to play again. No,
Jonathan Isaac.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll ever play again, but he's.
He said he was gonna. They said he was planning on being ready for next season.
That's what think about it though. Somebody's bodies just keep collapsing like that.
Yeah, walking could be a Greg Oden situation.
That Greg Oden situation.
The man spent 2.5 years rehabbing and getting ready to come back from an ACL injury.
Yeah,
and then within a month, his quad gave out.
Yeah.
So
they need to let him go and just believe in my boy Bobo.
Who's
He
also a baller, bro.
Well, he wasn't very good in the second half of the season, but
No,
that first half run was some. If he can find that and make it his consistent game.
But again, you don't get consistent minutes.
Yeah.
Is the problem. It's the same thing we kind of saw in Denver and other spot he was. But I just like the core. Their core 4 or 5 that they have. That's a team you can really build around and keep adding and maybe move a piece to get a star if somebody's trying to go there. But yeah, I like that. That's my pick. That's who I had.
I'm gonna go with the team that was in the playoffs until their best player went down, with the Pacers.
They might as well have made it.
Yeah, they could have made it. They definitely tanked towards the end of the year. Hallie definitely missed games due to injury, even before they started to tanking
action last year.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously he's grown, his game's incredible. Turner looked incredible this year.
Right.
Ben Mathurin looked like the right pick, and we talked about that.
Huge fit
after the draft.
Next to Hallie.
Buddy's played really well. So they have a core. They have some really good role players, some young guys with a lot of talent, guys like Isaiah Jackson, Jalen Smith, who are really, both I think have legitimate roles in this league. TJ McConnell is one of the best backup point guards in the league. So they've got a bunch of guys, and they would have made the playoffs had Hallie not gone down the first time. They went 1-10 in those 11 games.
Right, and at that point, it's like, why even?
Yeah, and that's when they were what, like 9th seed, I think, at that time, 8th or 9th at that time.
They were up there for a while.
Though?
I think depending on the contract, you do.
If I'm him, I feel like I go to a contender.
Yeah, it just depends on what he wants to do, right? Obviously, you can get more money staying in Indiana, and Indiana being a small market, you always have to try to retain your players.
Right, you can go to the Lakers and get a pretty good contract on a contending team.
But yeah,
something like that.
They do got a chance to get that number 1 spot.
They do. I mean,
they got like 8. They like at 8th, I think, right now with the 8th best odds.
Yeah,
and there's the factor
Hallie?
There's a factor of that people might want to play with Hallie, right? Like when you have a guard that can facilitate the way he can,
they don't care about scoring.
Yeah, teams, a lot of like star players look at that and be like, look, he can make me better.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have a young star or an old, who wants to like kind of do his own thing, right? There's been a lot of talk about Jaylen Brown not wanting to be a co-star anymore, right? To Tatum.
Hypothetically, it would be tough though. But then the Celtics might get like a Ben Mathurin in return.
Yeah, but hypothetically, right? That's a
I think that's who suffer. Ben Mathurin suffers. I think Jaylen Brown blossoms because he moves
right.
Well
that might have to be a swap. That might have to be like a trade.
That's my thing. Jaylen Brown.
I get what you're saying though.
Yeah, just like that scenario. Not specifically Jaylen Brown, but somebody in that similar position where they're younger. They won't mess.
They're ready to take like a step and try to kind of be their own.
Exactly, and I think, and even then, they've shown that they know they can draft and develop.
Right, Dame's trying to get out.
Well, that's actually a team I kind of wanted to touch on in this too.
Nah, dude, screw them.
They have to make the playoffs.
Screw them, bro. He's done, bro. He's so done with their stuff. What about Dallas? We got any of us have Dallas?
Yeah, I
had Dallas, but it depends on what Kyrie does to me.
It's so tough for me because I feel like we're seeing. Obviously, they might lose this pick. I think they probably will lose this pick.
They need to be in. Well, they got themselves into the spot they needed to. It's top 10 protected, and they finished in.
Right, but
they finished 10th.
Is the league done with that investigation yet?
No.
But I can see them losing that pick.
Because
then you lose that pick. Let's say Kyrie gets a great offer from someone else.
Yeah.
There's already rumors that Luka says if the team doesn't get more competitive, he's gonna start looking in 24.
Yeah.
At the end of the 24 season. And then you're out 2 stars, you're out everything you traded for one of them. You're out, Christian Wood's now your number 1 star.
I think that the league would be making a huge mistake in punishing the Mavericks. And I know it was because Jason Kidd's an idiot and said that they were tanking.
At this point, it wouldn't have mattered because the Thunder won.
Yeah.
And I think the Thunder held the tiebreak over Dallas.
Yes.
So it wouldn't have mattered in the grand scheme of things. But let's say the Thunder finished at 39 and the Mavericks could have won the last 2.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at something a little more.
But how many other teams decided to tank 2 weeks ago, a month ago? Right, you can't punish a team just because they might make the play-in.
Right,
and the real issue is Jason Kidd talking about it. Right, you can't say
that was the issue.
That was the big issue.
Look at those other teams who started tanking 2 weeks ago, or like a month ago. they was already in a shitty position.
Right. The problem was
man,
3 weeks ago, Dallas was sitting at the 6th,
Yeah.
7th seed.
that's my thing. And then
But
they like
just
fell
sucked
off the face of
organically. That's
Yeah.
that's my thing.
That's
They made
bad
a move
enough.
to make a playoff push,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
went the opposite way.
It just didn't work. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I was just curious, kind of, because I feel like Dallas is obviously the best of the 10 teams that didn't make it, or at least on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And then definitely with the names that they have. But let's move on to Vitor made a good point. We had put out the list, and I completely didn't even think about this. We're gonna do some award predictions. So obviously the regular season is over. These are all regular season awards. But we're gonna go with the new awards that they proposed for this year. We're gonna go MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Most Improved, Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year. This was don't tell me. Clutch Player of the Year.
Yep.
And then it was Executive of the Year. Y'all gonna have to help me out with the executives, but because I don't really.
I mean,
know,
I might not go by name. I might go by teams exec because.
But I don't know where y'all want to start. If y'all want to start with the big
MVP,
guns,
right?
Yeah,
I think
we
we're all
have
in
the same
agreement,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
Man, we all in agreement over here.
I forget what I was seeing or where I saw this interview at, but somebody had made a great point that when you look at, you talk about 3 in a row, like Mike never did,
Boogie.
LeBron never did it.
Cousins
Yeah,
talking
bro.
about it.
Kobe never did it. Magic never did it. And you can go down that list. There's only it was Wilt, Bill Russell, and Larry Bird. And Wilt and Bill did it in the 50s and 60s, which is like, okay, fine. They were also the 2 best players ever in that generation, and probably obviously top 5, top 10 in some people's lists. And then Larry Bird did it in the 80s, which was incredible because that was a very hard-nosed, hard-knock kind of era, but he was one of the 2 best players in that generation as well. But I mean, you're putting him into rare air now. You know what I'm saying? Like you're putting him in as if he's done. Like, what has he done though?
Yeah,
and that's the problem that I kind of have.
I literally watched this yesterday. It was DeMarcus.
I saw it like when it first came out, and I'm glad you said that it was the Boogie interview, but I can't remember what it was from.
Yeah,
they probably just had him on a podcast somewhere or something.
Yeah,
but that was a point I had never even thought of.
Yeah, it's not only,
especially when you look at like Mike never did it, Kobe never did it, LeBron's never done it. Like this, these are names that have won rings and MVPs and DPOYs,
dominated the league, a decade too.
So I just feel like it's bro, it's crap. It's crap.
Yeah, and I think
all advanced stats.
Yeah, which is the funny thing is if you go to Reddit, right, you have people's fan bases arguing and whatever, people have their opinions, and you have the nerds. The people who still say, well, Jokic still leads in all advanced metrics except for box plus minus. Who cares what the advanced metrics say?
I will say there was something crazy where I was seeing a stat where they were like, Jokic, it was like a handful of stats, maybe like 4 or 5 advanced stats. And they were saying that Jokic was number 1 in all these stats. And then I think in those handful of stats, number 2 and 3 was like KCP and Aaron Gordon. And they were only number 2 and number 3 because they played with Jokic. Yeah. And that was kind of crazy to me to think about, like, you know what I mean? But I just think when just the pure absolute dominance that I've seen from Embiid this year is just, he gave the man a fucking break.
In every game, big game we had, he
give the man a break. Yeah, right. And I'm not saying he hasn't had stinkers. They both had stinkers. But I have an argument for Giannis as well. Best player, best team.
Yeah, I think
the stats are the exact same.
He missed towards the end of the season hurt him the most.
It's what killed him.
Just because he missed 6 games and then went 5-1, and it wasn't like they were fighting in a lot of these games. Like they were destroying.
But again, Chris came back. He played. Yeah. Chris only played half the season.
Yeah,
and they're still the number 1 seed. So that for me is something that I find impressive.
Yeah,
especially because that was criteria the last 2 years for Embiid and Jokic, how they were missing key players, and yet they both kept their team afloat. You're missing your co-star, 1 of 2, and you're keeping it afloat. But I also think it's a big part to, maybe my next pick, we can roll into DPOY.
Yeah. Well, so I think
I'll go my pick.
Yeah, MVP was Joel. For anyone who couldn't.
Yeah, for everyone who couldn't grasp our anti-Jokic. It was Joel for all 3 of us. But my DPOY pick, and this might be controversial, I think there's 2 to 3 good candidates in my opinion.
I don't know if you've seen the recent surge.
I got 2 to 3 good candidates.
And then mine might surprise y'all. Yeah.
I wonder if yours is the surger.
I'm going Brook Lopez.
Solid pick.
I'm going Brook Lopez. Again, I think one of the best defenders, probably the best defender on that team. And yeah, dude, that's one of the best defensive teams in the league.
I want to go Brook Lopez. I really do. But Jaren Jackson is like kicking his ass.
That's number 2.
That's my guy.
That's the thing. But you already know my
right,
deal.
But it's just
Jaren
stats.
Jackson.
It's not like their defense is actually good.
What the
Grizzlies
are
are
number
still
2.
give up.
Grizzlies are
Yeah,
number
but
2 in team
feel like
defense.
they give up.
The reason like I like Brook is that Brook can stay on the floor for the whole game.
Well,
Jaren Jackson won't stay on the floor for the whole game. But his stats is like clearing Brook by a chunk, bro.
Yeah, but you also have to think Triple J doesn't have Giannis next to him.
Yeah, and Drew. Right, like that's I think what people are overlooking in the DPOY talks is like, okay, yeah, Brooks contested a record number of things because guys are getting slowed down by Drew and Giannis on their way to the basket, giving them time to rotate. Giants slowing no one down on the way
but I feel like that also is the reason that Triple J's stats are so high.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue
he's
that
the only person that on that team
it's
that
also
can
why
do
his fouls are so high.
outside of like a Brandon Clark. But he went out way early.
Even there, to even say that, I didn't watch Brook Lopez sit off the pick and roll this year. I didn't watch him sit on the island guard and go any big guard good guards.
You can't do that. It's not like he's laterally quick like that.
But that's exactly
the thing though. My argument is that Brook Lopez is sitting and getting me a stop without fouling. Jaren Jackson's not doing that. Jaren Jackson's getting beat off the first step, coming down to recover, and then he's picking up another foul because somebody didn't put their body into him. Like, he can't stay on the floor. Like, that's why I like Brook Lopez in this situation, just because Brook Lopez is manning the fort, playing pick and rolls, which is going to be something very key these playoffs because he had to get better somehow, some way, because anybody's going to try to put him in the pick and roll because, like we just said.
Well, actually, last year he wasn't even healthy. He didn't come back till the start of the Boston series, which is why they, in my opinion, lost.
Yeah, but for me, why any guard loves when a big switch out to them on a pick and roll or anything because the speed difference right there.
Mm-hmm.
But if Brook gonna just tell you, all right, I'll give you a little space, but I'm gonna throw your shit.
He's huge, bro.
And I'm gonna be in the game the whole time by all means and make the right play. That's my DPOY.
I personally, my pick is Brook, but I think Triple J might win it.
That's the thing, and that's the
I think Triple J. I think he might be the favorite. I haven't looked up.
He was the betting favorite, but some of the stuff, like some of the early ballots have leaked, and there's actually a current leader who is neither one of these guys, who is current, who is based on the leaked votes.
Oh, league votes.
What?
Yeah, Triple J right now.
The leaked votes.
I would say Draymond.
It was a very small number of votes.
That would be my third.
Take it with a grain of salt.
That'd be my third.
But the
spit it out, man. What you
Evan Mobley,
back and forth?
Evan Mobley has made a surge. This is just what the leaked ballots from voters has come.
Interesting.
A bunch of guys have put him as their DPOY. I guess because the Cavs are the number 1 defense in the league. And he's obviously the best defender. He can switch out onto guards. He can block shots. He's active in the passing lanes. Right, he's a really good defender. I just don't think.
But here's my thing.
I don't think he's there yet.
Exactly, he's in the same boat as a Jaren Jackson Jr. because Evan Mobley still gets in effing foul trouble, just like Jaren Jackson Jr. Not as much as Jaren Jackson Jr., but he's still in foul trouble.
Yeah, and I think
there's still a lot of things with Evan. And that's my thing. Like that's where this all stops. When Jaren Jackson Jr. fouls himself out playing great defense, he's not irrelevant now because he's not even in the game towards the tougher end of the stretch. While Brook Lopez kicking Bobby Portis off and holding the fort down. Well, so Giannis and them can go do what they got to do. Like, and Brook doing this without even trying to do this. He doesn't have to because he has a great defensive team around him. I have to go Brook still. Yeah. But Triple J might get it.
I like Draymond too. I think Draymond's a sleeper. I think when you just look at the difference when he's on the court versus when he's off the court.
I think that's crazy too because he has dropped off. I think significantly.
You don't need to even play defense. Yeah. It's just a communication. It's like what we see with Pat.
Pat Bev. So they make other guys better just by yelling at them, bark and telling guys to move and pay attention.
I mean, his IQ though, you can lose a step, but if you know your positional awareness, defensive awareness, where to be, how to be, what to do, and then turn that into offense, it's very crazy.
I still will stand by the fact that Jaren's foul trouble is overblown. Yes, he gets into a lot of foul trouble.
Okay, dude.
But it's not as bad as some people make him seem. People have
last
used
time you
it.
said
Yeah, but
this.
like compare that to some of the other guys. Like a
People
Brook
use
Lopez.
yeah, but Brook, the thing about Brook too is he's not picking up fouls actually trying to guard anyone, right? That's the difference, right? Jaren's getting tagged for playing defense on a guard, and then if they throw their head back on a slight bump, that's a foul. Brook can't even look to guard them.
But what happens when Triple J leaves his feet too early, or he moves? He's just a second too late, like just trying to cover over. Brook not a second late. Brook throwing that shit.
Brook's back there.
To be fair, Brook can't even jump like that. So Brook
That's
can't
what I'm
even,
saying. We talk
can't
about
even get off the
we talk
ground.
about Brook doing this, just blocking. Like,
Yeah,
hey,
it's dude,
like-
he's actually nuts watching some of those games. All right, let's move on. I think we got 2 Brooks and 1 Triple J.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going Brook too, so I like that. Let's go. We're gonna go to most improved.
This is a 2-horse
who went
race.
first?
That's a
The first
1-horse
time.
race.
We all did
Y'all
Embiid,
tweaking.
and I think you went.
There's
first.
2 horses. One's gonna win it, but there's 2
I
horses.
have
one
most improved.
one
It could
needs to
be
get
2 horses.
consideration. But,
One
who's
pulled
going?
one out his ass. One person pulled something.
I know
out
who
his
you
ass
got,
this
so go ahead.
Yeah, I got SGA.
Oh,
we went
let's
from all
That's who I got. Let's go.
we went from all-star to
Let's
top 10
go.
player. 20
Literally,
some points
dude.
to 30 some points. And then I just checked the stat today. My
30,
man has
it's
40,
like 30, what, 31, 5 and 5?
31, 5 and 5, but he has 40, like a good 20, 30 point plus games this year.
Yeah,
like in that range.
It's
It's
not
even
like
higher. It's probably
it's not like he's boosting his scoring average with 35, with like 45, 50 pointers. It's just consistent
30 to
points a night.
35, yeah.
and we talking about carrying a heavy.
And
heavy
they made the play in, bro.
The play in.
They was trash the last 3 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They lost Chet Holmgren to start the year.
Yeah, they didn't even
Look what
get, yeah. Imagine if you have him. They're gonna be crazy. I know you probably got Lowry.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I think
That's why I said 2-horse race.
well, that's why I said 2-horse race as well, because I think a lot of people have discounted Shea because he was already a star player and all-star, and people knew that while they probably didn't have 31, 5 and 5.
Time out. Here's my argument. John Morant, baby. I don't want to hear that.
He's
we was
right.
talking about Josh.
Because Ja was an all-star.
Yeah.
And then
Ja was
he
an
elevated to
all-star
last year and won
Yeah.
it.
Elevated last year and wins MIP. I don't want to hear that.
But weren't we also didn't we all disagree with that?
We did. But
I don't remember what I did.
I had Bane as MIP. He went from
Oh, but you love
nobody.
Bane.
Well, he
You
went from
love
literally
Bane.
nobody to a 20-point scorer.
Yeah,
Anyone can do that
Marcus
if you can
Smart.
consistently hit threes, though. You only got to hit six, like, you know what I'm saying? You only got to hit a few shots.
I'm just saying,
Because
I
not a lot
understand
of
the
people are
Larry
lead
Mark.
shooter.
Yeah, I understand Larry marketing.
No,
but
yeah,
really go on.
his jump was larger than Shea's jump, but Shea's jump is harder to make.
Yes.
So
exactly.
that's
I was
where
about
the
to say,
argument.
That's what
yeah.
you have to say. Is it quality over quantity?
Yeah, and
But
I
also,
think,
Lawyer's in a new role.
yeah,
compared
exactly.
To every other
Well, I mean, we saw in February of what 2019 was it? When on the Bulls, when he averaged that, where he single-handedly stopped us from having a really high pick because he averaged like
crazy.
27 and 9 or something stupid.
He's another guy, though. He's got such a crazy good shot.
Yeah, and
Like Shea for me, I don't know. Watching Shea is just
It's
so
the fact that he's not
it's very like
Here's my stat.
Luka-y and Kawhi, where
Yeah,
it's just like they
like,
play
here's
at
my
their own
stat.
pace.
The actual stat. He has actually 45 plus 30-point games. Last
That's more than half the
Okay.
season.
Wait, how many games did he
45
play? Because he didn't play all the games. He missed a few towards the end.
Yeah, and that's
Bro,
the thing.
stop.
But the majority of those games, he was putting a 30 ball in. Like, you could literally went to FanDuel and put 30 on SGA. He was going to hit it regardless. Like, and that was my thing. And only over the last 20 years, the last 20 years, the players to average 40 or have 45 plus 30-point games in a season was LeBron, Kobe, KD, AI, and James Harden. And now look at SGA. 45 plus games, 30 or more. I'm taking it.
Should have gone to the.
That's pretty insane. I'm kind of curious.
I wish I
68
did.
games.
I wish
So
James
45
Harden
out of 68.
Yes.
That's more
thank
than
you.
2/3.
That's pretty ridiculous.
That is-
Well, I know who me and Isaac's on
Yeah.
the same page again. 3 for 3, 3 for 3.
66% of his games.
So we're 3 for 3.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
Just under 2.
I know we're about to be 4 for 4, but we're all about to be unanimous on this one. We'll go rookie of the year.
Yeah.
Paulo B.
That's just
Saturday.
awful. Yeah, that was just.
Do we have
yeah,
any
that was-
honorable mentions?
Jalen. J-Dub. Jalen
Walker.
I was gonna say
Kessler.
Walker Kessler. Let's go.
Jalen
Let's
Williams
go.
has arguably
Jalen
been
Williams the same.
better
Yeah, but
than
I would say the first
second.
half he was
Yeah,
nothing.
I was gonna say he's arguably been
Hey.
better.
The first half he was nothing.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
where
but Kessler been
It was the
consistent
second
and
half.
solid.
Yes, Walker Kessler for me has been a very
once
key
they
contributor.
gave him
He's been a key
the
contribution
reign.
for a team. I mean, it would have been looked a lot better if they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
But he
Well, he
has
also
been a
didn't
freaking
start the
steal.
season off playing. He was on the bench.
Right, and
like,
Jalen's
getting
been playing
minutes.
from the start.
Well, was he playing from the
Yes.
start like that?
Yes.
30 minutes a night like that?
But no,
Yeah.
30 minutes. But I'm saying
He
he's
got
been
minutes,
playing
yeah, I mean-
consistently from day one.
But yeah, I think his second half has been incredibly impressive, and he's a big part of why the
Right.
Thunder made this playoff push. But yeah, it's Paolo. He did it the whole year.
Paolo. That's not even fair.
He got 40, 20 plus games and shit. And LeBron was LeBron did that his rookie season.
Wait, so he has less 20-point games than Shea has 30-point games?
Yes.
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 That would be correct.
Even more reason to get him in my P, bro.
Yeah.
All right.
If they don't give Shea, we're gonna have a rage. If they don't,
I
give
think
Shea
we will.
MIP,
At least on the We Got Action podcast, we might have a rage fit. But let's go with Coach of the Year. I don't know if anyone's got any arguments.
I think it's got to be Mike Brown.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah.
There's a couple unanimous ones in here that I feel like
Yeah,
is kind of a crime.
To me, Coach of the Year should always be the guy the coach that made his team take the jump rather than like a player taking a jump by himself.
You know what would be criminal?
What?
But
Bro, get his dumb face out of here, bro.
I think the Nuggets
Mike
Malone. Thank you.
I think
I think
he
it
had a
has
good
to be Mike Brown.
I think Malone had a shot if they kept the pace they were going at through the first 2/3 of the season.
So they would have been able to slide into like a
'Cause
60-win season.
Yeah, they would have been talking about 60+ wins and dominant, being far and ahead, the best team in the league.
Which they were. They were 8 games up for
Even
second.
I still who is my guy from Cleveland right now? Is it JB still Bickerstaff? Is it JB for the Cavs? Because that's what I had as his.
Oh man. Hey,
JB, I don't think
hey,
so.
the heat are heating up, boys.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so yeah, he is the head coach. Only reason I'm going JB.
Oh, it is
Bickerstaff,
JB.
Yeah, but you went from playing to a top 4 seed. I take that any day of the
For
week.
me, it's so tough because your team got significantly better.
You added Mitchell.
When you look at the Kings and what they've done, they didn't make many moves from who they were last year. Not like crazy amount of moves. Obviously, they had Sabonis already second half of the year. You still had De'Aaron. You went and grabbed a Malik Monk who really fit that role post
Kevin Huerter trade.
Kevin Huerter trade. You drafted a Keegan Murray who really became a key piece for you down this. Again, a lot of it was second half. I feel like they really made a really nice run because they started hot, they fell off, and then they kind of continued it after the All-Star break. But I just think when you have such a similar team to what you had a year before when you were a top 4 pick, and now you're jumping into a top 3 seed.
Yeah, well, they traded for Sabonis, and they continued winning and losing at the same pace that they had before the deadline.
Exactly.
So he clearly, he definitely worked magic with
Something
that team.
happened there.
And fun fact, I have a friend who's a Kings fan, and when he found out about the hire, he was like, "Was that the one that was like with the Lakers and the Cavs?" And I was like, "Yes." And he goes, "Oh shit." And now
you think about that though, but here's the thing: I feel like Mike Brown's been a coach that has really been a bridge coach and kind of a repair me kind.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to be able to put them into the next level.
Yeah. And
again, top 3 in a conference though is insane to me.
I believe he coached the Cavs in LeBron's last season the first time there.
And then he got shafted.
Yeah. When he left. And then
they ended up being one of the worst teams.
And he got fired, I believe, the season after.
Right.
I think he was the coach of maybe the Baby Lakers squad.
And then the first year LeBron was there when LeBron missed half the season and they were also terrible.
Yeah, he was part of that Baby Lakers squad.
Yeah, so it's like
Steve Kerr for the last one.
Well, yeah, and I think he's also shown a willingness to learn.
Right there.
Yeah, which is why Kenny Atkinson is getting interviewed by Houston.
Remember all the crap you used to talk about Steve Kerr?
What?
All the crap you used to talk about Steve Kerr?
Bro, he's just one of those guys like when you listen to his interviews, he doesn't say
he said it doesn't make sense.
He's like,
but then I see what happens on the court.
You're like, because we talk about it all the time. They'll show you the little mic'd up for the coaches, and he's just like, just keep doing you guys, just keep doing. And it's like the same shit. It's like you put a fucking you're playing my player, and that's what your coach is telling you on in the huddle.
Yeah.
And then the Warriors go out and come back from 25 plus.
Because
Because all they needed was a little positivity, bro.
exactly.
They were already feeling negative. It's gonna be more negative.
All right. We sticking with Mike Brown? Or are you gonna stick with
Yeah.
JB?
No, I had Mike Brown. I just said as a second pick, I had
Okay.
JB.
So then we're gonna go with Clutch Player of the Year. Not sure how much I
Yes.
agree with this award. I don't quite understand it, but are we gonna go with Mike Brown's main man?
Yes, it has to.
Yes.
Swiper.
Yeah, he averaged the most points in the clutch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most
Scored
points in the
the
clutch,
most,
most
the
fourth
most.
quarter points.
Yep.
Again, the Kings making that run that they did, and with him missing out on all the other awards, I think it feels like a nice little consolation
I was
prize.
saying I think in my opinion, he's a close top 3 to 5 for most improved as well.
Yeah,
Matter of fact,
That's a really
maybe
good
so.
check for most improved. Just saying.
I might go Joel Embiid.
For
He got the
clutch,
best
I mean,
record.
that's a really good. I
Better
think it's a
record in
really
the
good
clutch.
pick, but
3.6, shooting about 50%.
it's tough to not pick Joel for anything.
yeah.
Yeah, but like
I mean, you can
De'Aaron
argue
Fox
that.
has a lot more. Yeah, has a lot more games in the clutch.
Yeah, you can also
Jimmy
argue
has
that. Whatchamacallit, you can argue Embiid for DPOY even. I know those considerations went
I
out
like
early
Jimmy for clutch too, but
yeah.
I just don't like how bad he were.
Yeah, I don't think they were good enough.
How mediocre they were, I should say. But I think that's decent.
Yeah, I mean, this has been De'Aaron's award
It's
since like the
Swiper.
halfway
Yeah, it's
point of the
Swiper,
season.
though.
We go executive of the year, the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Executive of the year, Minnesota Timberwolves for the Jazz. Tim Connolly, right?
Oh, that's so funny.
I mean, I'm
gonna go who I got, but you go ahead.
I think I'm gonna go with the Suns exec. That's James
okay.
Jones, right?
That is Shiva.
Is
Welcome
it
to the Valley, son.
Really?
That's James Jones, right? You guys'
Yes.
actual exec.
Yes.
I think he took a team, obviously, that
Two out of three,
had
man.
made it and then, kind of disappointed last year. And he made one of the biggest win now moves. And it looks like in the games KD's played, they've lost what, one game?
One, yes.
So, I mean, obviously the sample size isn't massive because he missed some
I
time.
think they're 7-1.
Yeah. And it's like, obviously, it's a regular season award, and it'll probably go to somebody else who made a move that had a longer span. But I think that move for James Jones.
Don't say it, sir.
I'm gonna let you say it.
I'm going Brooklyn.
Oh, all right. I went either Kobe Altman or Leon Rose.
I like Brooklyn and what they did, saving the potential nuke that they kind of had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And saving it in such a big way. Like I feel like picking up you got a true superstar in Mikal Bridges back, and you gave him the keys, and now he's been balling, and Dinwiddie has just been able. I think it's insane how much of a, because when you looked at what Dinwiddie was on the Mavericks, he was like that bench scorer / third option, and now he's turned into like a playmaker.
Yeah.
That can average 10 assists and play insane defense, which he's always been able to. But just I feel like the weird kind of shift from scorer one-on-one guy to playmaker, but can still knock down his shots is very interesting. But yeah, I just like the retooling they have. Yeah, that's
like
true.
That
a lot of shooters around him.
Yeah, the ball's in his hands more now.
Just I feel like the ability to go from KD and Kyrie and retool to have a brighter future, but yet still be competitive in the now was very impressive what they were able to do. Because you also think the James Harden thing too, like that's you went from 3 superstars to now you're still competitive. You avoided the play-in, and then you were also still have a bright future and got some of your picks back. So that was my pick. I don't know who they are. Again, I know we talked about that before the podcast. I don't know the names, but whoever up in that Brooklyn front office.
Hey, ain't it Sean Marks?
That's
GM, ain't it?
Is he still there?
I don't know.
I don't think.
I guess we can find. I'm gonna find out just so I can give him his.
Because I did go. I went Kobe Altman of the Cleveland Cavaliers just because he did bring in Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah,
and then he took his playing team that should have been a playoff team, pushed him into the top 4. I'll take that. He made a lot of big moves, build the bench, got a Karis LeVert. Still, you kept the Jared Allen, Evan Mobley. You still got Twin Towers down there. That's a big thing for me.
Oh, you went with the Cavs?
Yeah, I went with
that
the
was
Cavs.
I said Cavs until you said Suns, and I was like, damn, you know what? I'm going. In my mind, I had Cavs up until he said Suns.
I do think, like I said, I do think
I want
it'll go
Cavs.
to somebody who.
Damn it, I should have went Cavs. We could have had a clean sweep, right?
Season. That led to a team. So I think both Isaac's picks, Cavs, Knicks.
Knicks is great too.
Are very, very good picks.
Knicks really turned it around and gave some hope.
Yeah.
Rather than just like we're going to be a 6 to 8 seed forever.
I just like how
now
Tibbs
we can push to a front top 3.
Tibbs is
I'm
there.
like how Tibbs is still here.
Running guys.
Playing
key guys 30+ minutes in a meaningless game 82.
Also, Isaac, you were right. I mean, there's a lot of different names, but
Sean Marks is
on the GM. Yes. And then Josiah, I remember that name from somewhere.
Governor.
Oh, it is. He's the one that was talking to KD like, yeah, we ain't gonna do all that.
Yeah. Yep.
What about in the West? Any teams in the West deserve a shout aside from the Suns?
The Lakers.
The Lakers is a good shout.
Going from one of my worst picks to then pulling Magic out of a hat and retooling like no other was insane.
Who is that?
It's a clutch guy. What's his name?
Julie.
Man,
no,
we're bad.
Who's the Lakers is there? It's Jeannie Buss.
She's
the owner. She's not the GM.
But she's the Laker, but she's the executive because the owner is not the owner, but the GM is Rob Pelinka.
It's Rob.
That's who I was thinking. Rob
it typically
does a lot
goes
of
to the GM or the EVP, depending on who's in charge of.
Rob is who came into my head right away, but I knew he wasn't any like executive. He's just a general manager, which I guess is
executive. Yes.
The real EOY is LeBron James. Okay. He couldn't get his guy Kyrie. He's like, yeah, just bring D'Angelo in. We'll make it work.
I mean, I could argue Kings as well.
Yep.
Because they've made a lot. You could argue Thunder.
Nuggets. You could argue the Nuggets too, bringing in this key role players that we talked about them needing.
I also feel like there's also health. They just get guys back.
Yeah.
That they've already had. Warriors are always up there, in my opinion. But yeah, I think that's fairly good for the awards, though.
I think it'll end up.
I think we did pretty.
Mark Eversley.
You got to say teams.
Next season, once he trades. Next season, once he trades DeMar,
the Bulls,
and we get more shots.
You got to say teams for me.
You don't know AK?
Nope.
Arturas Carnage.
Coaches, I can do most of the coaches.
Arturas
the way he looked at that camera. You gotta say names.
But yeah, no, maybe next year once we trade DeMar and get some guys who need more shots, their shots.
Yes. We know. Take us under 22.5. Okay, we're gonna slide out of. Also, we'll revisit this because I do think we did pretty good. I think we might have caught maybe a clean sweep, but there's usually one award that goes to somebody who is a dark horse.
Or just that one Lowry gets it because
Lowry
his point went up more than
yeah,
Shay's, even though Shay's jump is harder to make.
Triple J versus Brooke. So we'll see what happens there.
Evan Mobley comes out and wins it. And we're like, what the fuck?
So Major League Baseball, I'm going to talk about 2 points. One, I'm just curious where we're at with Tampa Bay. I'm going to check and see if they won today. They were playing the second game of the Boston in a series with the Boston Red Sox. And they did pull it off 7-2. So they are now 11-0. And my question to you guys is, do we feel they are a legit contender? Obviously, when we did the World Series contenders, Isaac, I don't think you were here, but we did Padres and Astros, I think, were kind of the 2 teams we were looking at.
Yeah.
I think we all said Astros.
Yeah, which
makes sense.
Season has not looked great.
But they are missing key players.
Yeah.
2 key players. 3 key players, actually. But the Rays, are they legit? They have pretty much an entirely healthy roster outside of they're missing Tyler Glasnow, who's, in my opinion, I mean, he would be their ace. Obviously, Shea McClanahan has been insane in Tyler Glasnow's absence, but he's probably their number 2. Or are they going to fizzle out? How do we kind of feel about them? 11-0 is pretty insane. I get they've played the Tigers, the A's, the Red Sox, 3 teams that finished pretty low in the standings last year. But
I mean, you can only beat what's in front of you, right? You got the Astros dropping games to the Tigers and Pirates, which they're not terrible by any means.
Pirates can score. Pirates are pretty bad, but they can score.
O'Neal Cruz can't slide.
That was insane.
That was crazy.
But you waited until you were fizzle out. Like to what? You think they can? You still think they contend for the AL East crown, or
yes? No, really.
Okay. You think Blue Jays and Yankees?
I think if they stay healthy.
Okay.
I think if they stay healthy, they have plenty of talent. Yeah.
I need to see the stretch in May. It's when they play like the Yankees, the Astros.
Like the tougher, the real teams.
The tougher team. I want to see those, and that'll change my mind. It's so early in the season. Let alone we know baseball is like an up and down thing. So it's like, I think it's great to see them come out like 11-0. But like, I just want to see you play some better team because they got the Yankees about 6, 7 games against the Yankees next month, and I want to see that.
I mean, that's the thing too. They're going to play the Blue Jays and the Yankees 20-something times this year. Yeah. So that's going to be a big decider on who wins the AL East. But I would say, I would argue that they are contenders, and I would argue that they are legit. I think when you look at superstars, you've got them. I think when you look at aces, you've got them. I think when you look at bullpen, they got it. I mean, for crying out loud, every 4th and 5th day is a bullpen day for them. So they've got 3 guys that can go out and go 5, 6, 7 innings, but then the other 2 days they're playing bullpens, and that really is important come playoffs. When a lot of those games turn into bullpen games, and when you've got guys who have done it all year, I think you can contend. Again, I just think biggest part for them is health. It has kind of been their Achilles heel. The only season where they did make it to the World Series was the COVID year, which again, that was 60 games. So it was a lot easier to stay healthy for 60 games than it is 162 games. We know Wander Franco's been kind of made of glass his first couple of years, but when he's on the field, he's incredible. So I think they're legit if they can stay healthy. It goes for most teams, but they're for me, they're fairly complete. I really believe they're fairly complete. And it's going to be tough though.
I think a good sign of their legitimacy is that they're playing bad teams, but almost all of these games have been monstrous blowouts.
And that's what I was going to say is that I don't think Boston's terrible. I know they struggled last year. Boston has no pitching, but Boston can score runs with nobody. 10-0 game 1, 7-2 game 2. You gave up 2 runs in 2 games.
There was a 1-0 right in there.
Was it 1-0?
Was it yesterday?
It was a 10.
Yeah, 1-0 yesterday. 10-0 on Sunday. Was it?
No, they didn't play. They didn't play them on Sunday. Red Sox had the Tigers over the weekend.
Yeah, so they raised.
So it was 1-0.
11-0 the A's on Saturday.
That's what I saw. It was the A's, which that makes sense.
But so not.
But again, that's 2 runs in the last 3.
Well, yeah, they have the best offense right now, I think.
Them or the Rangers have been up there.
Yeah, and then they have the best. They have allowed the least runs.
Yeah.
So it's one thing if they're like, oh, they're squeaking out 3-2s against these bad teams.
Yeah, no, I think they're doing what they should do.
Yeah,
I like what I'm seeing from them so far. That was my opinion. I was just curious.
They're one of my safe teams to bet on.
I was just curious. The other thing I wanted to talk about for baseball, again, it's tough with baseball. We talked about it even with NBA. There's not too much movement going on. We're still trying to see who is legit and who's not legit. You got some teams that are injured right now, some teams that are not. So I'm just kind of curious. We'll get more, maybe do like a monthly update to see where the divisions are at, see who's falling behind, who's really pulling away. So maybe in a couple weeks we'll do a 1-month thing. But I'm just curious about how you guys feel about some of the new changes that happened to the game. So obviously we've got the shift, we got the bigger bases, pitch clock's kind of been interesting to say the least.
Yeah.
With some fun balks and
or not fun balks.
Fun balks.
If you had that nerfy for against the Cubs game.
Either way, but we've got some. I'm just curious. I like my favorite one so far has been the size of the bases. I think that you've seen a lot more activity on the base path, and you've got a couple inches more. A lot of these stolen bases, especially with the quicker guys, are bang bang. So they're getting there a little quicker.
Yeah.
You see guys stealing more bases. I think opening day was the most bases since like 1870. Most stolen bases on opening day since like the 1800s. So
That's
that
when
was
the pitchers
something
didn't
fun
know
to
they could
see.
turn around,
And
so.
I think that's kind of what the MLB wanted with more offensive
Yeah.
minded baseball.
And I think the pitch clock does play a role in the steals as well, right? The pitchers
Yeah.
can't take all their sweet ass time.
Yeah,
looking
over their shoulder
over,
constantly,
you know,
stepping
pick,
off the mound.
pick off attempt.
Because they have the other thing that they added was disengagements,
Mhm.
if you've seen that. So you can step off or throw over once. You can do it again. But the third time you do it, you have to get the guy out or else he gets second base no matter what. So you basically get 2 attempts to kind of pick him off or to stop the game. If you do it a third time, it's either a balk or basically it's a balk. If you don't get him, he gets second base. So that's interesting too. Because
I like that a lot, actually.
After 2, I mean, you saw it on opening day. After two disengagements, Ronald Acuna looked over at the bench and he was like, was that the second one? Old boy had a fat lead. And he stole second, walking
also
up, standing up.
I think the momentum leads and the jump starts, I think what people are calling them,
Mhm.
where not only are guys, 2-3 feet off the base just because they kind of have this leeway now, but now as soon as the guys are in their
2-3 feet's not a lot.
well, it's enough.
It's not a lot.
It's like okay, 4 or 5.
That's not
they're off, right? They're not hovering the base.
We're talking like 6 to 8.
Well,
plus
there
is
was
a
there
real
was one I can't
2
remember
to
who it was.
2 to 3 is this.
That's a good point. Yeah, it looks.
I'm just
I was
kinda
raised
trying
in the
to-
metric system.
2 to 3 meters. That's more realistic
You
for
see
some of the
some of these-
faster guys.
Some of these steals, the guys are like a third of the way down the base path already,
Right.
Which is, I guess, like,
And they know old boy's got 15 seconds or
Yeah.
20 when he's when you got a runner.
Yeah,
you got
and if
20
they've already
seconds.
disengaged, then
Oh, bro, it's a wrap.
so
I love
it's
that.
definitely fun. The pitch clock has its pros and cons. The cons is that you got to watch your face now because these guys can't control their pitches without taking if they're not taking.
Yeah,
their
I've definitely seen some guys have been.
time.
I mean, I'm just going to talk. I've watched both of Dylan Cease's starts. He manages it incredibly.
Yeah.
But some other guys struggle.
Yeah, and I think we've seen balls go up this year. Like it's very. I have not seen a lot of guys.
There's been a lot of walks.
Yeah, a lot of walks, a lot of like full counts, and even during outs and strikeouts, whatever it may be.
Go ahead.
Well, Manny Machado was just talking about it, and he was like, the other day he was just talking about it. The game is a little bit of adjustment right now for those guys, especially guys like himself. He was talking about like because he liked to take his time, regain himself real quick, unwrap, get ready, lock back in, and now he like I don't got that type of time no more. It's like.
And you can see it too. He hasn't started off as hot as we saw him last year, where he was a 300 plus hitter.
And I was watching another game where it was a pitcher who just was like deep into the clock just about every time he threw the ball. Like you was just trying to get that bitch at your arm. You throwing ball. I'm like, bro, relax.
And baseball, I think baseball players are known for being very like superstitious and habitual. They all have a lot of them have routines that are
even if you don't play any.
Yeah, there are a lot of routines that like for us to watch it, like what the hell are they doing? But for them, it just helps them gather themselves and get ready, get focused. And we're seeing them not have time. A lot of these guys don't have the time to get through their whole routines, or they just feel the pressure.
They have to start new routines, honestly.
Or sometimes guys who don't even have long routines, I feel like just feel the pressure of the clock a little bit, and it gets to them. It's good for the offense. It's bad for the guys who are getting hit in the face. I forget who it was. I got hit right in the chin. Yeah, it was bad.
It was a Rangers player. That was like the 3rd or 4th day of the season. I can't remember.
But there's been a lot of hit by pitches in general as well. Every time, I feel like every game I'm following along with, whenever I'm like doing stuff and I keep my phone open, just like on one of the games, somebody gets hit by a pitch.
Right.
So it's definitely got its pros and cons. I think it'll be an adjustment period. I don't know if that's going to be just like a month or so, or if it's going to take a lot of the year, or whatever it takes. But it's not that bad. The shift has also expanded offense. I mean, that's really what they wanted.
The shift is fun.
The only thing we got
lack of a shift.
The only thing we got to do now is remove the power of the umpires to eject players. Because I'm getting tired of this crap, man. The guys are like, "Hey, you threw that off. That was off the plate." It's getting old.
I like umpires.
I hate umpires. No, they're bad at their jobs and they're assholes about it.
Exactly. but it's just you can't remove it. You can't remove it. It's just not how it works.
Oh, actually, I guess I work with a guy who played in the pros, in the MLB. I actually asked him about the pitch clock and rope bottoms and stuff. He said he likes the human aspect, even though sometimes they're so fucking bad it makes him lose his mind.
Dude, you just can't do it. Because if who are you supposed to get mad at? You know what I'm saying? Who are you supposed to get mad at if stuff's not going your way? You know, if you're off that day and maybe you're missing a little bit, you could be like, bro, come on, what the heck? But if you're off that day, everybody knows you're just off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They got that.
Who you getting mad at?
They got that little butterbot from Rick and Morty.
Yeah, I ain't got nobody to blame. I ain't got nobody to blame if I just can't throw a strike that day. I just can't throw a freaking strike.
Right.
But sometimes if you can't throw a strike, maybe you're missing where old boy's calling it, and
your catcher saving your ass.
Yeah, bro. Dude, that's an art. That's an art. That would take that out of the game.
But yeah, and he said the pitch clock is something that obviously he said his routine pitching was quick, so he feels like he wouldn't have had trouble with it. But he can understand why guys are having trouble with it, but he likes it for the future of the game. So that's somebody who played in the pros.
I love that.
I would still add like 5 and 5 for me. I would add a little bit more time.
Yeah, I think adding a 5-second.
I would say like 20
seconds.
and 25 is fun. Just because I do think come a time where games matter more.
Yeah.
Like playoffs, there you need time.
And maybe
make sure
if the rule was, playoffs have longer pitch clocks, because people are okay with watching playoff games that are a little bit longer.
Dude, it's the best.
Because I'll for one say I don't watch much baseball, like sit down and watch. But when it's playoffs,
This is killing me.
like
top of the ninth, 3-3. I can't watch this. This is killing me.
These games are crazy to me. But yeah, I like a lot of the changes.
I think so far they've been pretty good,
and I think they've done what they wanted to. The game's faster, and there are more runs scored.
Exactly. So whether you like that or not, that's up to you. But that's kind of all I had for MLB. Again, we'll kind of talk about it and do more of a division by division and kind of a team breakdowns, more who's impressing and whatnot once we get a little further into the season and we've got a bigger sample size. But last couple of things I want to talk about was some NFL stuff. So we did touch on last week when there was rumors that Odell was going to sign with the Ravens. Those are no longer rumors.
Yep.
So he has signed a 1-year deal up to 18 million. So I'm assuming that has a lot of incentives
and there's also
make sure he plays and scores and where they actually land come playoffs and how many wins they get in the playoffs and whatnot, touchdowns and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I'm sure
and they've also got years on the contract that they can like push money.
Right.
Should he, whatever happens. So Well, I think
this was their half-assed attempt to try to.
I think the contract tells the story. It's a 1-year contract for a reason.
Right.
It's because Lamar's going to play on this tag, and then next season he's out. And I think OBJ goes with him. Unless they go on some crazy run and the Ravens finally decide to.
Right, but if it works,
yeah,
and then it's like, okay, maybe we should run this back.
No, you know what's going to happen. What's happening is this: they set it up to try to keep Lamar, and they're gonna go get Jackson Smith-Njigba in that 22 slot, and then watch. You're gonna have him in the slot, Rashad Bateman,
Mark Andrews,
and I'm like,
if I'm Lamar, I'm looking at that. I'm like, all right,
like that's enticing. That guy, do you finally add?
I didn't even think of that. If they draft a receiver. Because Quentin Jackson, you've got Jordan Addison, you've got Smith-Njigba, you've got names.
That's what I'm saying. They can make a move, and he could probably stay. But I just think with this contract situation and how it hasn't played out so far, he's still leaving.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks with it. It feels kind of half-assed, but
we ain't seen OBJ since the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. So, right, exactly.
So
he was going crazy though.
Yeah, but it's hard to be like, let's be excited when I ain't seen somebody playing almost damn near 2 years.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I agree. I was just kind of curious again where you guys were at.
Yeah, my first thought was literally that, like, okay, they're gonna have Lamar for this season. I think Lamar's come to terms with the fact that that non-exclusive tag is more exclusive than the exclusive tag.
Right, exactly.
And I think he'll stick it out and try to prove himself, which he's done it. I'm not asking him to prove himself. I'm not the one it was me, he'd already been paid.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much as he wants, but close to it.
Right.
But yeah, I like it. I think we've been begging for them to
Do
stump and bring in a receiver. Dobbins should be healthy as well for the whole season this
Right,
year.
and
Which is
he
huge.
has an off, like we always talk about in every sport. He's got an off season to
A healthy
improve his
season,
game
yeah.
rather than focus on rehab.
Yep.
If they can even go and get a receiver and then maybe get a couple offensive linemen as well. Yeah, I think it's a good move. I think it's a positive move. It's something I think they needed after all the negativity that's kind of surrounded them throughout this entire offseason.
Yeah.
But we'll still see in a few weeks what happens with the draft and what kind of moves they make. I like Isaac again. That point, I did not even that never crossed my mind, but that's something that would be really impressive if they went and got one of those. Even like a bigger body, like a Quentin Jackson. I mean, I don't know how early these guys are going to go, but I mean, just get something to complement an Odell or a Rashad Bateman.
Yeah. There's been mixed reports on the receivers in the drafts. Some people say there's like 4 guys with first-round grades. Some say only Jackson Smith-Njigba has a first-round grade.
A lot of the other guys are potential where they're kind of like a DK. Some of them just have
Quentin
crazy
Jackson's
size.
one of those ones that people are like, well, if he hits,
I like Jordan Addison out of Pitt a lot.
Yeah, but we'll
USC
see. It's coming soon. Got like what, 2 weeks?
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. No, I think you're right. He transferred from Pitt. No, because Kenny Pickett left and then he went to USC. You're right. My fault. I forgot about that. Yes, because he played with Caleb Williams. That's right. Okay. So the last question. This was something I had as I was trying to find something to fill another NFL question. And I didn't want to talk about draft yet because I'm sure we'll get to that in a couple of weeks when we get closer to the day. Yeah. And there wasn't like a ton of news. I mean, the Jeff Okudah thing happened.
Yeah, I mean, the Falcons have been making moves.
But I wanted to really talk about and that was kind of where this kind of piqued my interest because I see all these teams making moves and doing this stuff. But I'm looking at if you're just you guys, either of you, I don't care, but if you guys are building a team, you're trying to rebuild a team, you're trying to retool, you're trying to improve upon an already playoff team, are you doing this with the Chiefs in mind, considering that's kind of the standard of the NFL right now? Are you doing this to kind of plan around beating them? Are you planning around trying to mirror the Chiefs and what they've done? Is that in your mind at all as you draft and sign players? Obviously, this is more tailored to teams in the AFC that'll have to see them in the playoffs beforehand. Obviously, NFC teams, if you're a number 1 seed, you might see them once a year, or a number 1 in your division. You'll see them once a year, but you really wouldn't see them until the Super Bowl. But I'm just curious, they're kind of the standard of football at the moment. Just kind of, do you think that teams are doing that? Do you think it's something smart to do?
I don't think you should try to. I think one thing that's really good for this team, as in terms of the Kansas City Chiefs, is that they feel their offense to what they need. And it's like, let's keep building on what already works and keep plugging guys in that fit the role. I feel like a lot of guys go make a big jump and go sign like some big star, and he doesn't even fit your offense. Like for me, one of my bigger questions, like we all talked about Lamar Jackson even trying to get the ball out of his hands sometimes, because he always trying to dance a little bit too much. But you go get OBJ, it got to work still. When you still think about OBJ health, when you still think about Lamar Jackson's like scrambling ability, sometimes he does hold the ball too long, even with Justin Fields. How can you build around? I think you have to find a way to build around your offense. The Eagles gear more towards a Jalen Hurts. Like, I know what Jalen Hurts needs. Let me go get it. Compared to let me try to beat the Chiefs. And in order to beat the Chiefs, I think you have to be good at something really good, either really good on offense or really good on defense.
Like, I think when we saw Tampa Bay beat them, they were insane defensively.
Yeah.
That defensive line just caused Kansas City so much problems.
You look at the Bills. The Bills' plan is to outscore Kansas City, and it never works. It's because you're trying to do what Kansas City do. Kansas City job.
It works in the regular season.
But every time you want to get to overtime or like the very 10 seconds of a game, and you like
not this past playoffs, but the 2 before that, they definitely did.
But it's rough shootouts. Like that.
So I think
that's what
you're saying, that they need to kind of mirror the Chiefs in a sense of how Kansas City's always just trying to fit players into the system that they have?
I mean, yes, and I think it depends as well. Do you have to, like, how many teams have an offensive system that can be on par with what Andy Reid can do, right? And how many teams have a quarterback like Mahomes, right?
But can you plug plug players that work into your own system? Is kind of what I think Isaac is saying.
And that some systems,
that's what I'm saying. You play.
And that's why I've seen, like, Shanahan has made a lot of
nobody
running backs work.
He knew that if he got McCaffrey with what he can scheme up, he's going to be perfect for what.
Yeah, it's been great having fifth rounders, perform incredibly.
Like them going to like the Chiefs grabbing like a Sky Moore.
Yeah,
and that's why I think. Yeah, and that's why I think it falls back to the culture each time. Because like for me, like I would love for Eric, like I think we talked about it a little bit earlier. I don't think I was here for it, but like Eric Bellamy, like I would love for you to have a head coaching job because I've watched you work with a Pat Mahomes. But I'll take this now with a Washington just to see what else you can do. Because now you don't got Andy Reid there over your shoulder to help you, but like you understand what you need in terms of your offense. You understand what you need in terms of your scheme and how can it make this work. Like we thinking about Shanahan right now. I'm like, yeah, go get McCaffrey because I didn't produced a lot of great running backs. Running backs have done well if
now you actually gave him an already great running back.
And one that can really help out your pass game for your rookie quarterbacks that you're feeling.
Yeah, or like the Bears in a sense. Like we talking about he needs a one. Go get Justin Fields a one so we all can shut the hell up and stop asking questions. Is he in or is he not? When he never had a receiver.
Let's find out the answer.
So I think that's when you got to marry your team. Like you build off what you have, but you have to have a great coach to start this all off with, or a good quarterback.
So here's kind of a couple teams that pique my interest a little bit would be like a Chargers team. I think the Chargers are a team that play them twice already. They'll probably see them in the playoffs if they make the playoffs.
The games are always close.
The games are always close. You're right there, but yet Kansas City's just better. So I think if you're looking at a team like that, if you're looking at a team like obviously the Bills and the Bengals are two teams as well. I think the Ravens are another one. And in the more recent years, these are teams that are very close to competing and beating Kansas City. Obviously, the Bengals have beaten Kansas City. But like, what are like these? Like, do you try to? I like the Chargers is probably the best team. I think that you're so close. Do you try to just get what fits your system, or do you try to get players that can compete really well and can kind of counter the Chiefs? You know what I mean?
I would say I think one of the biggest things, like we was just like I was trying with it got to be either offense or defense. I feel like the offense is there. Pending Austin Eckler right now. But if you look at that defense, we always question the Chargers defense. So it doesn't matter. And then you already had bad coaching on top of that. So it doesn't matter what you do. You're not slowing Kansas City down. Reason why Buffalo was so good is that they put everything they needed into making the team of how it had. They had the offense to keep up with Kansas City, but what they lacking was the defense to at least get them 1 more to 2 more stops. Go get Von Miller. Von Miller got you your regular season wins. Does he getting back to the football? He just got hurt. So then you look at that. That's what I'm like. You need what your team needs, and that's what Kansas City do so well. They go get what their team need.
Okay.
And then it's like never fell off. You lost Tyreek Hill, but went to go get guys who can fulfill that role just in a different way. Like
so focus on what your team needs in that system rather than trying to focus on how can we beat this other team.
Well, and what happens if you build your team to beat the Chiefs?
Then you lose.
You
to
beat the
team.
Chiefs, and then you get beat by the Bengals.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, and I think you have to.
If
you want to win,
way different than them.
Yeah. If you want to win a Super Bowl, if that's your goal, you have to just be the best version of
versatile at everything.
Yeah, you have to be the best
able to play your game.
Yeah, perfect what you.
Which do. I think we saw that a lot from Philly this season. They went and got a lot of guys that could help Jalen Hurts. A lot of guys that could complement his game very well.
Well, and they also
got a defense that was A+.
And they also said, "Hey, we're not going to make Jalen Hurts be Burrow or Mahomes.
Right.
We're gonna
make him go be him.
Yeah, we're gonna have this crazy O-line. He's gonna run the ball a lot. We're going to run a lot of play action, right? And we're going to get him throws over the middle.
Yeah, and then he's going to throw for 350 in the biggest game of the season.
He's running touchdowns with his legs.
Dude, he was nuts. Okay, I like that. I think that's kind of where I would have gone as well. I think, but I feel like a lot of teams, and the reason I wanted to also think about this is because I also feel like a lot of teams try to try to make moves to beat specific teams when, in my opinion, if I'm a GM, I'm trying to plug holes in my team and get players that fit around my best player. But I feel like a lot of players make moves to beat certain teams, I think like not necessarily just the Chiefs, but how can we beat the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Buccaneers in the most recent years?
The biggest thing that I think the Chiefs are teaching other teams is that you don't need to overpay for mediocre to above average talent.
Just to overpay one player.
Right. You say, like, look, if you have a good enough system and you know how to draft or scout free agents, then you're going to have core pieces and you can move things around them.
Because they had five rookie starters on defense in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And I mean, even their offense, right? They've made moves around. They've moved guys around over the last couple of years. It's not like they've held this offense together for the last 3-4 years.
Losing big guys off the line, plugging new guys on the line. Lose Tyreek Hill, gonna go get Juju. Like Juju already gone now. Like it's things like that you just watch, and then you got the most consistent guy on their offense is Travis Kelce,
DeAndre Hopkins,
and Pat.
Oh God! Hey, we was talking about that last week. I do that all the time. We was talking about that last week about DeAndre Hopkins' future is kind of uncertain because obviously, he wants to win now. And he's got 18 mil it was? 19 mil? I can't remember.
19.
But
19.1.
him being on the Chiefs next year.
That's unreal. I was just thinking we was just talking about these draft picks and stuff. I was like, one of these receivers gonna fuck around and slide to Kansas City and be a star.
That too. A stud, bro. If what Vitor said was true, where a lot of them are like, borderline. Maybe we pass and get something else. Kansas City will be.
Kansas City,
give me that. Give me 6'5", 240. Yes, literally. So that'd be crazy if they go get an offensive weapon.
Think that's what impresses me the most about the Chiefs is that they're able to draft guys and develop them, and they're not. It's not just, hey, we have this hole. Let's pay the top free agent who's not even a top player at his position. He's just the top guy who's available, which you see guys like McGlinchey, right, getting paid a lot, and he's a great run blocker. Really, really good run blocker.
The Chiefs would rather get somebody lower on the totem pole that they know can get into their system and they can work with and mold and really turn into a player that.
And that's what coaching does. I think that's when you have really, really good coaching, you're able to do that.
Okay. I like that. So that is going to wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen. That is episode 45 for us all. Again, bear with me here as I try to do my best Danny outro impersonation. But again, that's been episode 45 for y'all. We really appreciate y'all tuning in. It's been a pleasure constantly coming in every week for the most part. Every week we've taken a few weeks off. We're coming close up onto episode 50. We might have to bounce some ideas and kind of see what we can do, something special for episode 50. Again, we'll try to get into some recaps of divisions for MLB down the road. Playoff basketball is back, so next week we will get some first round action. We're gonna continue with predictions. I don't remember winner awards. That's got to be towards the finals, right? Or is it just after the finals?
I believe it's just before.
I think it's just
finals.
before as well.
Yeah,
so we've got a couple months. Yeah, man, it's been a pleasure, guys. Keep going crazy on the social media. See, I just can't do it. We need Danny. But keep going crazy on social media. Follow everything. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Danny's gonna get these posted as soon as he can. Again, we miss our boy, but he'll be back hopefully next week. He'll get his whole setup and everything taken care of.
Maybe we can get all four of us in again.
Yeah, it's been. I think we've had one. No, because Isaac was here 2 weeks ago and Danny sat out.
Yeah,
to edit and stuff.
The week before that.
So it's been probably almost a month and a half or so since we got the quad together. So we'll see if we can get that in the coming weeks again. But yeah, it's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, signing out. That's all I got. Sorry, Dan. You're gonna have to chop that outro up.
You're gonna have to work some magic on the editing and stuff to make this.
Yeah, Dan. We left it.
We butchered it. All right.
Yeah, we butchered it. Add a clip of you just outroing for us.
Yeah, maybe you do an outro. Man. All right, guys. We love you. Peace out.
Peace.
That's it.